Hi everyone, hope everybody is having an amazing first week of the new year. In the spirit of the new year, I am going to be doing recap videos once a week on the show Married at First Sight, about the show at Married at First Sight. A little bit about me: I'm a lifestyle mastery and relationship expert, and I've provided therapy for people in the area of addiction and relationships and transformation for many years now. So I, along with many people, watch this show and scream at the TV about what's going on, what I think, my opinions. And I was like, this would be kind of cool to actually do, because I know I'm not the only one watching it and having an opinion. If you don't know about Married at First Sight, it is where singles come to hopefully be matched by experts to be married. So the marriage is legal. There's an extensive psychological testing as well as extensive interviews with the professionals to eventually match three couples within the area. This time it's Boston. So I've been watching it for several seasons, and I'm obsessed with it. The psychological component of it, of course, is kind of my speed anyway. So I am like fascinated by what makes people tick and how they kind of see each person working out. And at the end of the day, it's still kind of like a risk. But it's beautiful to see how important relationships are, because I think they are. I think they're the foundation of everything, and how far people are willing to go. People are meant to be together. I think human connection is really important. So people are really willing to put themselves out there for these relationships and to be married. And if that's a goal of yours, or if you're just interested in something like that, I think you guys should totally watch it, because it's very, very interesting. So this year, or this season, is Boston, and they've already selected the three couples. So my feedback on the couples, and the first couple, let me double check here, is Jaclyn and Ryan. I think they did a really good job with this pairing. Ryan is a firefighter. He seems to be very selfless, very caring. Jaclyn has had some trauma as far as her ex-boyfriend passing away, and kind of overcoming that grief and being open to moving on with someone else. One of the things that I really liked about Ryan is, during one of the parts of the show, he was sitting with the other guys, and they were discussing ring sizes, and his girl, his wife, soon-to-be wife, had like the biggest ring finger. So they were giving him a hard time, like, oh, you don't know what she looks like, she could be whatever. And he was like very consistent and committed. He was like, I don't care what she looks like. She could be taller than me, she could be shorter than me, she could be big, fat, like, I don't care, because I'm committed. And that answer let me know that he's a solid dude. That's just my opinion. I mean, who knows? But he's a solid guy. Because let's be real. I mean, if you're being set up on even a blind date, more or less being set up to be legally married, these marriages are legal, y'all. Don't fake the funk like you don't want to be with somebody who you're attracted to. But his response when the guys were giving him a hard time was so like, listen, don't even come over here with that BS, because I'm going to be committed to who I'm committed to. I trust the professionals, I trust the process, and I'm ready for marriage. And the important thing about that is that marriage takes that. So beyond, I'm newly married, so beyond the physical component, like that gets old and quick. Yes, it's important. Do not get me wrong, it's very important. But on a day-to-day basis, you're not looking at your spouse like, damn, they're so fine. Like, that's not what's going on. What's going on is what's for dinner again, or God forbid something happens, and really having to support your spouse and all this other stuff, way beyond the surface. So the fact that he said that, I was just like screaming on the inside. Well, screaming on the outside, but that makes me sound a little crazy. So screaming on the inside for him, because I just was like, man, he's a solid guy. And Jaclyn is very open, and having had that trauma, it's hard to overcome. My sister, a little feedback, a little history on her first husband passed away unexpectedly, and to watch somebody go through that, and she's she's remarried now, and she has other kids, it's not a small feat. So the fact that she is able to overcome that and open herself up to being married with someone, it's a beautiful thing to see. So I love that pairing. The next pairing is Molly and Jonathan. So to be honest, Jonathan comes off very much as like, I don't know, kind of arrogant, kind of like a jerk, just to be honest. But as I continue to watch him, for me, I think that's like a defense mechanism. Like, he comes very straight-laced, but a lot of times the people who are the most straight-laced tend to be very sensitive and very emotional. I think we just have to get through that initial interaction with him, and maybe as he gets comfortable, he will be more sensitive. But he seems like a really good guy, very athletic, likes to have fun, likes adventure, very much the provider. You know, he lost his job, and I don't even know if this is like legal, but he lost his job because he decided to engage in this experiment. But he believed so strongly in what he wanted for his life that he did it anyways. So that is like a stand-up thing to do. You can't push this guy around. He's not gonna go for it. Molly seems like a very sweet girl. She has lost her father recently and is getting to a point where she's now in a space to kind of move on. And it's a sad story, but she has such a great support system. And I'm excited to see how they kind of interact. They are like the picture perfect couple to me. Like, they're beautiful aesthetically, and you would see them together and be like, they match. They both seem to be a little timid though, so I'm interested in seeing how they get comfortable in this process so quickly, because it is an accelerated process. So yes, sex is involved because legally that's your spouse. So, you know, sex happens quickly. I mean, you know, it can happen quickly in real life, like outside of these parameters, but you know, when you meet someone and then you marry them in the moment you meet them, and then that night is honeymoon night and everything, that's more accelerated than the norm. But all of that stuff happens: meeting parents, moving in, sharing accounts, all of these things. Like, it's a very real situation. So I hope that they are able to get comfortable quickly enough to really get everything that they can get out of the process. So the last couple is Shawniece and Jephte. So it was interesting to watch them. Shawniece is like a free spirit. She's in the beauty profession. You know, she does hair. Just the way that she presents is so fun and so free. And Jephte is actually somewhat very reserved. He seems like a very solid stand-up guy. He comes from a family of like 9 or 10. He helps, takes care of them. They actually both come from very big families, and they help take care of their families. So it's very cool to see how they put them together. What I'd like to see for them is them allowing themselves to be taken care of by each other. So something that I heard a long time ago was the best marriage is two servants in love, because they're both trying to pour into each other all the time. So I hope that they can get to a space where they can allow each other to pour into each other rather than feel like they have to do the pouring. Because sometimes you kind of block your blessing, or you block what you truly want because you're always in giving mode. And what you don't realize is that always being in giving mode and blocking others from giving to you takes away the opportunity for them to give. So, and then you get, you know, overwhelmed and resentful and depleted and all that stuff. So it's really important that they allow themselves to do that. And I think they'll feed off each other really well, because Shawniece seems to be this like high-spirited, outgoing one, and Jephte seems to be the more reserved one. And he's even said, you know, I hope my wife has a little patience with me. I'm gonna try to open up as fast as I can. He comes from an island family, so this was hilarious for me to watch. I literally like laughed to tears, because I knew, like, his family is of Haitian descent. My family is of Haitian descent. So I knew what was gonna happen when he brought that up to his mom, you know, because I could hear my dad. If I were to say, Dad, you know, I'm gonna get married in 2 weeks to a stranger, he'd be like, are you crazy? You crazy? Like, no way, you know. And that's exactly what his mom gave him. That's why it was so funny to me. You know, if you're from the islands, or you have friends from the islands, you've been around their parents, you know it's not going to be like a super supportive thing for this, because we just don't get it. Like, for us, it doesn't make sense. But I think he knew in telling his mom that she was not going to give him this exciting, overwhelming feedback, because, you know your parents, like, you know, his siblings kind of came in with the support and said, oh, I think it's a good job, which is so funny because I remember my siblings, we all did that for each other when we, you know, because we grew up in Chicago, we were born and raised here, so there's cultural norms, and you know, we're raised with our family who's born and raised in Haiti, but we're born and raised in the United States. So we're picking up American habits and we have our cultural norms. And so sometimes when we knew something wasn't going to be well received, we had a strategy. You know, we were like, okay, mom and dad are not gonna go for this. This probably won't make sense for them. So yo, come up the back and say like, I think that would be, and we really did have a strategy. I mean, it didn't always work, but you know, whatever. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the two families get together and the impact that the families have on each other, because you know, it's so sweet to say it's just the two of us and no matter what, we'll make it. Here's the thing, like family is a big deal, okay? And if it's good, it's great. But if it's not, it's problematic. It can stress your marriage out and it can make things difficult, okay? Because you have an allegiance to your family. This is what you've known for X amount of years. So you feel like you're in the middle. Luckily for me and my husband, our families are great. But we even talk like, man, we're so lucky because we don't have these issues that we hear about other people having with their in-laws. So I'm interested to see the family component in Jephte and Shawniece, specifically Jephthe's, just because I come from an island background where it's going to be very hilarious and it's going to be very interesting, especially to see how his mother interacts with her and this whole process. So that's week one. If you haven't watched, please watch. If you have watched, comment or send me a message and let me know what you think, because I would love to keep this dialogue going. Like I said, I'm going to be doing weekly recaps. This is week one, so see you next week.